We have the very simple topics covered in the Harmony and Theory Quick Start Guide. I want to take those ideas here and hash them out and make them, take them from being small, concise ideas to be something that you can practice, that you can, put your mind to and start to develop on the fretboard so they become really clear, really ingrained. So without further ado, I've got notes. Today we're talking about intervals, right? What are intervals? So in music, you can measure the distances between two notes, right? And that's all an interval is. Just as an interval in day-to-day life is going to be, the distance between me and the printer back here or something. It's, 6 feet, something like that. That's an interval of 6 feet. Well, likewise, I can take two notes and I can measure the distances between them. And so the smallest 2 units of measure that I have, if I refer back to the packet here, let's see, smallest 2 units of measure that I have in Western music are half steps and whole steps. Most of you are likely familiar with these. So the distance of a half step on the guitar neck is 1 fret from there to there. I just went from the 5th fret to the 6th fret on the E string. That's a half step. I could go the other way. That's still the same distance, even though the direction of them changed. Open string to the 1st fret, whatever. Everybody knows that, right? Something you might consider is how those intervals, or how a half step in particular, presents itself between 2 adjacent strings. So sometimes I may want to play a half step, maybe not on 1 string, but between 2 strings. And so to do that, I can have a fingering like this. And I think I have, that's the whole step sheet. Here's the half step sheet, I think. There we go. We can see the fingering over here for a half step. It looks like this. I'm on the 9th fret on the E string. I can move up to the 5th fret, the D note, on the A string, and that is my half step fingering between 2 adjacent strings. This is important. So I can do that between these sets of strings and get our kind of Twilight Zone sort of vibe on. Between the E string and the A string and the D string, and the D string and the G string in standard tuning, that fingering remains the same. When I get to the B string, when I get to the B string and the G string and the B string, I should say, we subtract 1 fret from our fingering, right? So where I did have, say, this 5 fret pattern, this 5 fret fingering, I now have a 4 fret fingering between these, 6th fret and the 9th fret on the G string and the B string. Return to that previous fingering, the stretchier one, the 5 fret pattern, when you get between the E string and the B string. So what do we have? We end up with these fingerings for a half step that occur between 2 adjacent strings that allow us to move around a little more efficiently on the guitar neck, right? So chromatic scale, for example, we're going to make our first scale. A scale built entirely of half step intervals. You could play that a lot of different ways. You could start on some note over here and just start playing consecutive frets on 1 string. That's not very efficient, right? What you could do instead, if you knew how these intervals, present themselves between 2 strings, is you could play 4 notes on a string. I just started on the 5th fret, the A note. Put all my fingers down on the consecutive frets, and then I moved over here because I know what that looks like between 2 strings, and I can try that again. So there it is. And there it is again between 2 strings, and this is all written down over here so you can see it. All right, so right over here. Oh God, there it is. All my windows are crashing together here. So anyway, great technical exercise, right? I haven't played much today, so I'm warming up yet. There we go. You could play that ascending, descending. Good way to get to know your half steps. It's good stuff. You could do the same thing with the next smallest interval. That would be a whole step. Where's my window? Where's my stuff? I don't even know. There we go. All right. Whole steps. You add two halves together and you get a whole. And so on the guitar, that equals 2 frets, right? So if I, for example, went from the 5th fret on the E string over here, my A note, and I went up to The 7th fret, that's 2 frets. It's a whole step, right? Just like before. I'll take it through the same process. So I will figure out how these 2 notes occur between 2 adjacent strings. That might be something like that, right? It's the same as our half step interval, but 1 fret smaller, right? Because we, added a half step to it. So there we go. We get to know what the fingering looks like between 2 adjacent strings. That's maybe from the 8th fret, the C note on the E string, over to the D note over here on the A. Whole step. Same thing as before. The first 3 sets of strings have the same fingering. And then 1 fret smaller between the G string and the B string. Back to that previous fingering for the B string and the E string. So kind of cool. And just like before, you can build a scale using, there's my computer yelling at me. So just like before, I can use exclusively whole steps to build a scale. And to do this, again, you could do this on 1 string, but now we know how these things occur between strings. And we get what we call the whole tone scale, right? Built entirely of whole steps. Kind of creepy. Kind of cool though too. Again, good technical workout. And I'm going to send all this stuff along to anybody who gets that packet at morefromdave.com. This thing, right? Where am I pointing? I don't know. Wherever it is, you see it. All right. Go to morefromdave.com. You're going to see all the supplemental material sent along to you.